State Representative Eliza Hamrick serves in House District 61, which encompasses Southeast Aurora and Centennial, as well as parts of Douglas County and unincorporated Arapahoe County. She is the chair of House Pension Review Subcommittee, which oversees PARA, which is so very, very important to all of us that are retired teachers and legislators, and is a member of the Pension Review Commission. She also serves on the Education Committee and the Health and Human Services Committee. She's a member of the Education Commission of the states representing Colorado. A career high school history and government teacher in the Cherry Creek School District for over 32 years, Representative Hamrick has won numerous teaching awards, including Daughters of the American Revolution, Colorado Teachers of the Year, and the Never Forgotten Colorado Teacher of the Year. She is a Library of Congress Fellow and was twice sent to the country of Estonia, where she deliberated about democracy and the First Amendment with ethnic Estonian and Russian teachers and students. We are so fortunate to have Eliza Hamrick with us today and to have her at the Capitol, continuing to teach fellow legislators and continuing to be an advocate for public education. So welcome, Eliza, and we are anxious to hear you talk about the dire needs of the shortage of teachers for the state of Colorado.
Great. Thank you so much, Senator Todd. If the host could let me get my video on, that would be fabulous. Good morning, and thank you so much for having me today to talk about the dire teacher shortage. As the Honorable Senator Todd said, I taught history and government at Overland High School for over 32 years. I now represent House District 61, which is Southeast Aurora, Centennial, Douglas, and Arapahoe counties, as Senator Todd said, which is basically 93% of the Cherry Creek School District. I'm also, oh, good, I can get my video on now. Fabulous. Hi.
Yay!
I'm also excited to hear that the AAUW is supporting my workplace violence prevention bill, 1066. We've had a ton of coverage on that, and I'm very excited about that. And also that you're supporting another bill that I'm priming, 24044 from the Senate, refundable tax credit for para recipients. There's another bill you might want to look at. It's House Bill 241044, which deals with retired teachers and 1040s, allowing school districts to hire more retired teachers to fill spots and vacancies. So that's another one that I'm very excited about. So I come from a long line of teachers, and my daughter is continuing our family service as a first grade teacher in Cherry Creek. And for most of my career, when a student asked me about becoming a teacher, I was very enthusiastic. And indeed, I have many former students that became master teachers. Teaching is a calling, and those who pursue the profession are mission driven. So if you could pop on the slide that I sent. Today, unfortunately, due to many factors, Colorado's teachers are leaving the profession in droves. Colorado's teacher shortage will only get worse unless we change how we do things. So next slide. Great. Here's a graph of what our teacher shortage looked like in 2018 to 2019. And as you can see, there are 880 slots yet to be filled in that school year, at the beginning of that school year. And next slide. Here are the most recent numbers. We have in the 22-23 school year, which began in 2022, we had 3,294 slots yet to be filled in our state, which is 4 times the amount we had in 2018. So how did we get here? To begin with, Colorado is 50th in teacher wage competitiveness. Colorado teachers earn 36% less than other workers with college degrees, which is the widest gap in the nation by a full 3 percentage points. 70% of education degree recipients average $30,000 in loan debt. And 22% of Colorado teachers have second jobs, which is 10% above the national average. They take these second jobs so they can afford to teach. And I always have to repeat that to people. Colorado teachers, 22% of Colorado teachers are taking second jobs so they can afford to teach. Add to this the lack of funding for our schools. Colorado ranks 43rd in spending on education due to Tabor restrictions, and the increase of unfunded or partially funded mandates that take away from instruction time and increase class sizes are also a burden. Also, due to their below average salaries and steep rise in rents and housing prices, teachers are often priced out of housing in their district. And add to this substandard insurance and benefits, and you have a profession that is losing members by the scores. The CEA conducted a survey of their members in 2022 and found that Colorado educators feel overworked, underpaid, and under attacked, even in the classroom, citing the shortage of classroom teachers and support staff in their schools. A common concern of teachers today is safety on the job. At the CEA's annual leadership summit, I led a legislative session about education policy, and the biggest complaint of the teachers was safety at school, in their school, from elementary through high school teachers. As I mentioned, I'm running the bill 1066 that is going to help protect our healthcare workers, which are 5% more likely to experience violence at work than any other workers. And the teachers, when they hear that, ask, what about us? So there's going to be a study on workplace violence for teachers, but it is a very real problem right now. The 2022 survey also revealed that 60% thought of leaving the profession. Indeed, 44% of new teachers leave the profession by the 5th year. And overall participation in education preparation programs in Colorado has decreased by 7.1% between 2017 and 2021. So less and less people are choosing to go into the education workspace. This session, there's a promise to end the BS factor and fully fund public schools, but it's 1989 prices, so it's not fully funding. And that is only for a year, and that would have to be renewed each year. And due to Tabor, which passed in 1992, Colorado schools have been underfunded by over $10 billion with a B dollars since that point. So due to having the most restrictive tax policy in the country, Colorado is often on the bleeding edge, not leading edge, bleeding edge of innovation, because we have to get very creative about how to keep government programs and services funded, which are often just piecemeal in the education space. Looking over legislation for the past 2 years, the School Finance Act did increase student-based pupil funding by $598. Another bill increased funding to schools, but that was only for special ed. And then there was a bill which allowed para-retirees to teach in rural areas, and another one that helped with a 5-year loan forgiveness for those who serve in rural areas. But most of the bills don't deal with sort of teacher work. However, I would argue that we need to support the actual teachers in the classroom. A teacher's working condition is a child's learning condition. So we must figure out ways to have a more direct impact on the teacher in the classroom. Colorado's teachers must feel valued by our local and state governments. And if increasing pay is too big of a hurdle, then increase a teacher's time to actually teach their students and collaborate with their peers, and support and not punish the teachers in high-need schools. So those are my comments for today, and I'd love to answer either questions today, or please feel free to reach out to me. My cell number I put in the chat, and also my email.
Thank you, Liza. And I know there might be some questions, and we might just jump in and ask questions directly to Eliza before she takes off to go to the next stint, the never-ending job. Are there questions in the chat room, or in the question and answer, Darcy?
Yes, there are. And Carolyn, maybe you'd let me turn my screen on.
Okay.
So the first question that I have for you is there an equity slant to the shortages? Did the Supreme Court decision on affirmative action affect these shortages, or do you just see the problems as across the board?
Yeah, I see the problems as across the board, because we have some funding for people that live in rural schools. We have funding for teachers in high need schools. And so we're really trying to get some kind of equity there. But I see it mostly as, yeah, it's just as an overall funding problem.
Thank you. And you mentioned a lot of legislation that's going on right now, and we're really pleased to see that. Is there legislation that hasn't been proposed yet that you would like to see happen?
Yeah, so because we have
of course.
Like, don't get me started, right? The 1241 Accountability Task Force, I think, has sort of stopped a lot of education bills from coming forward this year because it is looking over our evaluation system. But there's bills that I'd like to bring in later. I brought a bill last year on allowing districts to only test at the federal minimum should they choose to do that, and also fund local innovative summative assessments, which was very popular among the superintendents. But the people that didn't like it felt that it was putting cart before the horse because of the evaluation, the accountability task force. But I definitely like to bring that one back next year. I'd also like to look at the school accountability framework so that we don't punish schools that have a bunch of high needs kids, that we work to support them more. I also had a national board bill to restore the funding for stipends for national board teachers. National board teachers pay $2,000 to get a national board certification, assuming they pass all 4 sections, which is $500. If they don't pass a section, they have to pay additional $500. Teachers have to wait for their partners to have a pay increase so they can afford to do that great professional development for national board. So we have it on our books, but it stopped being funded during COVID. And so I brought a bipartisan bill last year to put the funding back in, but it died in appropriations. So those are just some things that I would like to basically bring back next year.
Thank you very much. And that'll be the end of my questions, and we can move on to Rebecca.